Teresa Padico Poole, and today we will be airing video clips of post-7 activities and programs for the American Legion here in Easton. And I'd like to thank the owner of the Northeastern Village Shops, Don Brabants, for the use of his property to hold our annual Poppy Drive fundraisers. And I'd also like to thank the town of Raynham for giving us a permit to have our fundraiser, and to thank Walmart for the use of their venue. And of course, I'd like to thank all of you, the townspeople and the customers of Walmart, for their generous donations. So shortly we will air, and I hope you all enjoy the video and be well. Thank you. Hello, this is Teresa Padico Poole with American Legion Post 7 here in Easton. We're here at the Northeastern Village Shops with Don Brabants, the owner of the property here. He allows us to use the property for our Poppy Drives each year. So on behalf of American Legion Post 7, Easton, Mass, and the many veterans and veterans programs we support, I would like to thank you personally for the many years you've supported veterans and their families by allowing our organization the use of your property by the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru at the Village Shops. For our 2 annual Poppy Drives, we have one in May for Memorial Day and November for Veterans Day. Your unwavering support for veterans is appreciated so very much. With appreciation and gratitude, Teresa Padico Poole, Commander, American Legion Post 7.
Well, thank you very much, Teresa, and I'd like to thank the veterans for everything they do, and I think supporting American Legion, VFW, any veteran cause is about the best cause a citizen could support. So I'm pleased to do it and look forward to doing it in the future.
Great. Thank you again.
You're most welcome.
I was videotaped on the train making poppies in 2018, and I got a phone call at the Boston office at the auxiliary, and this lady says, "We would like to get poppies, but we would really like to get them from the Boston Poppy Lady." That's what I've been deemed now, the Boston Poppy Lady. I says, "Well, if you come to the 5th floor, which we call the Veterans Row, where all the veterans BSOs are, and come into my office, we'll have some poppies ready for you." Well, this little tiny, she was petite little thing, comes into my office and she looks at me and says, "Oh my, you're the Boston Poppy Lady." And she says, "I'm taking these back and I'm going to give them to members of Parliament on their Remembrance Day." And for you who don't know this, if you ever looked at the Queen of England, now the King, they always have a poppy either in on their person somewhere, so that when they're meeting veterans, that they can put a poppy on them. And they have a pin that they wear. They always have one in their person. That's one of the things that they must have. So again, that is what the poppies are. Why do I do it? I do it because of my two brothers who are Vietnam veterans. My brother Jim at one time was listed as missing in action. He went missing in action in January of 1969, and that's a terrible thing for a family to have, as you know. And for some reason, God sent him home to us on Christmas Eve. He came and knocked on the door at our house on Christmas Eve and said to my mother, "Do I belong here?" And what had happened was he was standing near a gasoline depot when it blew up, and he was burnt. He lost his dog tags, and he had no memory of who he was. But the week before Christmas, he said, he kept telling him, I gotta go. So he ran away from the hospital and hitchhiked across the country and showed up on our doorstep on Christmas Eve. So my post, Berkeley, which is post 121. At that time, there was a man by the name of George Cummings. My father called him and says, "George, we got a problem. My son's AWOL from the Army. We got to have help." So they went right to work and helped us get all of his treatment transferred to the East Coast. And that's why I'm so involved with the American Legion. And it's not just an organization. It's a family. It's a personal thing. And I've belonged now for over almost 40 years, and I will continue to work with the veterans and with them, whatever I do. And I always say I will do anything for the Legion. As long as it's legal, I will do it. So that's my story. Do you have any questions of me?
May I ask you to
Make it one more?
in reference to the God,
Mm-hmm.
the making of the
Poppy?
poppy?
And again, I take the shepherd's hook. I make a shepherd's hook out of the green. I take the crepe paper, which happens to be green for the life of a veteran, black for the death. I put it in the shepherd's hook. I let the shepherd wrap his arm around the veteran. I take the 4 blood red petals. One stands for the Father, the second, the Son. The third and fourth stands for the Holy Spirit. And God takes his arm and wraps it around the veteran for eternity. That's your poppy. That's it. Yes?
Do you realize the little law on the books that these ice cream vendors, food vendors are not allowed to sell or display small artificial flowers?
I knew that. And
Everyone else knows it.
yeah, but the thing is, I personally like our original poppy. Different organizations have the buddy flower, the plastic flowers and stuff, but everyone is made with love. And in one time, they used to be made at VA hospitals, and the veterans, it was part of a rehab program. And unfortunately, the state of Massachusetts kind of made it very difficult because you would have to pay them an hourly wage, which is comparable now. So we would have to pay $12.70 for them to make one poppy, which would not be feasible. We get the kits. Matter of fact, I get 100 of these pieces of plastic things every year. They shipped and they put right on my doorstep, so I don't have to go too far. And I sit there and make them. And the average donation for a poppy is between $3 and $10. That's what it figures out to be. So it's a good fundraiser for your veterans programs. Now, my unit uses it for the Creative Arts Program, which is wonderful. The National Creative Arts Program, it teaches the veterans to use different arts programs. We held the National Creative Arts Festival in Boston about 12 years ago. And to tell you a really fantastic story about this, there was an artist, a young man. He wasn't really that young. He was probably a Vietnam veteran. And he was an absolute great artist, but he was homeless, and it was in Texas. And he came up here and he showed some of his art, and an art dealer in Boston saw his art and said, "We'd like to buy it and display." And he ended up having a nice show. He's now no longer homeless. And one of his goals is, if people in the Texas area, if somebody dies while they're in the military, he will do a portrait for the family and give it to them. And this is all from our Creative Arts Festival. And I'm real happy. I just heard that it's possible we're going to have it back here in Boston again in the 2027. So I will be really, really happy to do that. So with that, there you go.
So again, this is Ann Fournier, and she's with the American Legion Auxiliary, who does many, many different things for the American Legion, the auxiliary, and support roles.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Very good. Thank you for coming, Ann.
Oh, my pleasure. Now we can go home and get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I liked your reference in the book here, The Poppy Lady, about going back to 2019. And just so you know, Post 7 uses donations for the veterans and their families' youth programs, such as the scholarship program, Boys State, Girls State, scholarships, sponsors, and baseball, Post 7 baseball. So we focus most of our donations, which the poppies, between the May Poppy Drive and the November Poppy Drive, pretty much covers our expenses for
All those
for all those programs.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you again, Ann. Cover. And salute. 2. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Uncover. Members and guests, please remain standing with your cap removed and placed over the heart for the POW MIA ceremony, the opening prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. So the POW MIA chair ceremony. A POW MIA empty chair is placed at all official meetings of the American Legion as a physical symbol of the thousands of American POW MIAs still unaccounted for from all wars and conflicts involving the United States of America. This is a reminder for all of us to spare no effort to secure the release of any American prisoners from the captivity and repatriate of the remains of those who died bravely in the defense of liberty, and a full accounting of those missing. Let us rededicate ourselves for this vital endeavor. Chaplain, if we could please have a prayer.
O Lord, we come to you for help and light. Grant that we may, on this day, find your service to find us peace, wisdom, and strength. Grant that we may serve you in spirit and in truth, and build our work to the good foundation of justice and charity. Be with us at this meeting, be at our side. Give us the grace to think that what is right, and guide us and counsel us in the work we do for the good of our comrades everywhere, for our communities, for our state, and our beloved land. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please cover. Let us now recite in unison the preamble to the American Legion Constitution.
For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and incidents of our associations and wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligation to the community, state, and nation, to combat the hypocrisy of both classes and the masses, to make right the master of might, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by devotion to mutual helpfulness.
I now declare the George S. Shepherd Post Number 7, Department of Massachusetts, regularly convened. So I'd like to welcome everybody. We have some guests here tonight.
Services we provide to the VA. Other services include the youth. And Ken, if you could tell us a little bit about our scholarship program that we offer to veterans, children of veterans here in Easton.
Yeah, the American Legion Post 7, we have an Outlook Club Memorial Scholarship Fund, and it's been given out for many years to local veterans' families. And as it stands right now, as long as you don't have to belong to our post, as long as you have an immediate family person that was in the military, you can apply for a scholarship through us. We do it through Oliver Ames High School and the Southeastern Regional School. They get applications. But if we have requests from other members or other veterans, from other schools, which we've had them from Hanson, we've had them from Taunton, we've had them from Raynham. We've even had requests that now the grandparents live up this way, but the students will live in Florida or up in New Hampshire or all those places. So we have given out scholarships to all of them too. They're all scored by our committee. Certain questions are asked on their forms. And then they have to do a speech regards to this year. The theme was how COVID affected you and your family. So that was the main one this year, and there was a great response from the youth that applied for us this year. So we want to thank them. There were 6 members, I believe, this year. And we were able to give out some part of our scholarship to each one of them because they all did such a terrific job in responding, and especially on the COVID, how it affected you. So that's where we're at this stage of the game, and our post has been very grateful to all the community and everything that supported us regards to all of the things we do in regards to the scholarships. So we just wanted to get that information out to the community. We usually pick one of the group to just kind of give their speech, and then the rest of them, there's no time usually at a meeting time to let them all do it. But we just ask one of them, whichever one feel free to get up and speak about it, and they present it.
So I'd just like to add to that there were a total of 7 recipients. We should be hopefully being able to have photos put up for you of each recipient receiving the award with myself and Ken, and 6 of them were able to make the ceremony that we had on June 12th, and we had photos individually of each one and photos as a group. We did have one that was unable to make it, but we are very pleased to have been able to give out those awards to these 7 children, because all their essays were very well written and very heartfelt, and we appreciate that they made and did the essay, and like I said, we're only happy to have been able to give them a scholarship. Moving from that, I'd just like to mention a couple of other youth programs that we have at the Post. We also have American Legion Boys State, Girls State for high school juniors. It's a government democracy program run by the American Legion here in Massachusetts. It's actually run in each state. And those high school juniors, high school juniors go to the program 1 week during the month of June at Stonehill College, so it's somewhat local. If you have a junior that might be eligible for the program, or you think they might be eligible, feel free to give us a call. I have some contact information that will be shown at the end of this interview. So please call if you are interested in finding out about the program. There's also American Legion Baseball for youth between the ages of 15 and 19. It teaches them sportsmanship. It's run again through the American Legion. Post 7 has its own baseball team, Post 7, and usually you can find out about it through the high school, Oliver Raines. You can call their office and check with them on who to contact to see about possibly joining the team. There's also a student trooper program, which is for high school juniors and seniors. It's a program to teach them a little bit about law enforcement. Maybe if they were looking to get into that field, it would give them a nice exposure to what is involved. Also, I'm hoping to do some future education on flag education that I'm hoping to coordinate with the Easton school system. I think that would be quite beneficial. Some of the outreaches that we do are the elections every year. Ernie here helps me with all different kinds of programs that we do. One of them is several times a year, depending on the election schedule, we set up a resource table at the elections. We put information on the table that would be helpful to veterans and their families about programs, both locally and within the region. One program is Project New Hope, which I think is a good program to help veterans coming back from overseas to kind of help them adjust back to being at home versus in that type of situation. But we get to talk to a lot of different people. I mean, could you tell us a little bit about your experience with the election table?
Surely, and I might add that the Cub Scout troop were involved with that as well.
Yes.
And of course, the Poppy Drive, you will see us at various locations for the Poppy Drive, which is held once a year, I think the month of May, is it, I believe?
Right.
Yes. And it's been very successful. The community supported us quite well with that drive, and I participated with that for a number of years now.
Our next speaker will be Mark Whiteside, the senior post-17 baseball coach. He can tell us about the season, this past season, and how our senior team did. I wasn't able to make the games, but I look forward to hearing from you, Mark, and let us know how they did. Yes, can you leave that for him to hear with you? No, it's for the, just let him hold it.
Makes me look good.
Camera, so the camera can hear him.
This is my second year coaching, first as head coach. Last year we had a very successful season. We had a lot of old upperclassmen on the team. We had 3 or 4 kids. The way the age limits work, you can actually be a freshman in college and play a senior legion. but it's only if you were born after January 1st, so it cuts some kids out. And fortunately, last year, we had some kids who had their whole senior season wiped out by COVID have the opportunity to come back and play for us. And a season, we were about 500, but we made it to the Chairman's Cup semifinals in Natick, which was really a great experience, and we had a great run. At one point, I turned to my assistant coach, I'm like, these kids won't lose. Like, what's going on? But this year, not quite as successful. We were 5-13. A lot of young kids. You know, we didn't have as many upperclassmen, and we suffered a little bit with pitching. And I think a lot of the teams last year that, you know, were not very good, you know, their kids got older and now they were pretty good. So, you know, it's the way it's going to be. I will say this, it's fantastic to offer these kids a summer baseball experience that doesn't cost $3,000 and make you play year-round in some AAU program. You know, I make the lineup and I do the pitching changes, but they coach themselves. You know, I didn't have to coach third base if I didn't want to. You know, they're really a smart group of kids that really love the game, and it's fun to watch. And they have a ton of fun. You know, we have a text string where I got to figure out who's going to show up to every game, and then they start making fun of each other, and I got to watch it. And somehow, and I'm not sure I want that discoverable, but it's really a great experience for these kids, and it's 3 games a week for 6 weeks, and then there's playoffs after that, so it can be a little intense. And these kids, you know, some of them are seniors. It's their senior summer. They have a job. They want to hang out with their friends, and they still show up at the field. It's fantastic. If you ever have a chance, and, you know, we can give you guys the schedule next year. We're at Frothingham Park.
Like Mark said, many of the other sports, football, hockey, basketball, these are year-round sports now for these kids. Not something I like, but it is year-round sports for these kids. So we had a great season. We finished, well, first off, so the district we played in they consider it local if Fall River and New Bedford are local to you. We played Fall River, New Bedford, Acushnet. These are larger cities. A lot of those towns or cities, like Mark said, borrowed kids or took kids from other towns to compete as one. We didn't do that. All of our kids were from Easton, Easton residents. So we competed at a high level against kids that, you know, varsity high school players at 17 years of age. We didn't have any varsity players. Most of our players had played JV or freshman in April and May. So we were one of the youngest teams in our division. We finished 6-10-1. The tie will forever be etched on my brain for poor coaching decisions. But we finished. We figured out a way to manage ourselves into playoffs. We got the last spot in the playoffs, and we ended up. You know, the reward for making the playoffs in the last spot was you get to play the best team in the playoffs in the first round. So we went down to Fall River. I believe, Tracy, you came down that, right?
Yes, I was.
Nice, beautiful night game on a 90-degree day. And we beat them. And the boys really came through. Probably played the best game of the season. And they knocked off the #1 seed. So the reward for that was you get to go play the #2 seed the next night. So we travel over to North Attleboro, who their American Legion team is year-round. So they practice like an AAU team or a private team. And they'll practice all season together. So they very much have their stuff together and a very good team. We lost 3-2, 7 innings. They were scared. They knew it. They had a battle in front of them, and we just ran out of a little bit of gas at the end. But double elimination. So we had one more night. We had to go down to Acushnet. We drove an hour. Teresa went there for that as well. Thank you so much. And the boys just ran out of steam. We ran out of pitching, quite honestly. Had a couple kids get hurt, so they couldn't pitch. So we were asking kids to pitch that really hadn't all season, and that's probably unfair to ask of them. But it was a great season. Thankfully, Teresa was there that night. You know, it was a sour night for the boys. I don't think they wanted it to end that way. But Teresa came out, talked to the boys at the end, explained how proud she was of them, of their effort and their commitment. That was really big. They appreciated that very much. So we're excited to get started. We're actually going to put together we're going to do some workouts in the off season. Not quite as much as like a North Attleboro does. Ours will be more focused, Mark and I were just talking about, more on strength and conditioning so that the players don't get hurt. with all the baseball they have to play for the high school and whatnot. So we're excited for season number 2 for the junior team, and hopefully what we're trying to do is just pass them up to Mark when they become 18 and 19-year-old, and he can continue to do it for as long as he can. So thank you so much for your support, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, where are you practicing inside around here?
So what we're probably going to do is at the, what's the name of the place on 106, Mark?
Fieldhouse.
The Field House on Route 106, just past, what's that, Big Y? The supermarket right there, by Target? There's an indoor field, indoor play area. So they have a turf field, things like that, batting cages. So we can do some workouts indoors during the winter, yeah. And most of these boys, they play, football, or they're playing for the high school, they're playing, hockey and basketball, things like that. So we'll have to figure out a time for them to get out there and get in there and do some work.
For the kids that were hurt coming along, are they all right?
Yeah, a lot of them, it's just, a matter of, especially for the pitchers, if they're pitching for the high school, the JV, the freshman team, Mark Summers, one of them, they're pitching from April through May and June, then right into American Legion. And, pitching at this age isn't just, all right, go ahead out there, you can pitch. There's an art to it now. This is, mechanical in nature. So you've really got to rest rest the shoulder and rest the body a little bit. So minor injuries, but, soreness, things like that, and then we just want to make sure that they don't have anything lasting into their adult life, But like Mike said, we do play at Frothingham. It's a beautiful park to play at. It's a beautiful night in the summer. If you get a chance, come on down and see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, for doing that. And I was very proud of the boys, and like he said, they were a little down after the loss, but I just felt I'd gone to many of the games to be supportive of the junior team where it was their first year, and I tried to make the boys comfortable with the American Legion, and I let them know how we also, as a post, are behind them, and we'll grow with them over the next few years. So thank you to Paul and thank you to Mark for doing this for Post 7. We appreciate it. Yes.
A schedule on that, how do we know what the schedule is?
They'll come out at the beginning of the season, and I will disseminate that to you
Okay.
at the meetings. I put it online also as an attachment, so everyone here that has an email, if you don't have an email, you'll probably have to contact me or come to a meeting. I'll have the schedules available at the meeting for you.
Schedule doesn't get put out till mid-June, season starts the 34th week. It's generally speaking, Monday through Friday. Seniors play Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, juniors play Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Oh, there we go.
So as soon as it comes out, I'll put it out either after the main meeting, and then the June meeting being the 4th Tuesday. I'll have them available for them, and so you'll be able to watch them. Now, the team, the games go from what, June 1st to July, the regular season?
Yeah, it's second or third week of June. We have to have a trial, and then we do a couple
Right.
weeks of practices, so
Right.
I'd say the second or third week of June.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
all the
that'll
way
work
through-
out with the June
through the end of
meeting,
July.
and that will be available for you. Well, thank you, gentlemen, thank you, Anne Marie, we appreciate you coming tonight, and have a good night.
All right, good.
A little bit about yourself and Boys State.
So, I'm Jake Manthos. I'm a sophomore at Oliver Ames High School.
Comrade Commander,
Yes.
could the young gentleman please use a microphone?
The
we have
microphone
one
is for,
tonight?
no, we don't have one. The microphone is for the
I'll speak
camera,
up.
so you'll need to speak up a little bit, please. Some of our members,
I'm Jake Manthos. I'm a senior at Oliver Ames High School, and my experience at Boys State, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it and how it kind of went. So I just want to say good evening and thank you all for your service. So I also want to thank Bob Hicks. He was my mentor throughout all of Boys State. He helped me get in, he helped me through it. So when I first got to Boys State, I was scared. I was the only kid from my school. And I didn't know anyone, so I really had to make friends along the way. And so when I got to Boise State, I met my roommate, Jack. He's a pretty antisocial kid, so that started off a little on the wrong foot. But I got to know him, and I got to know my friends at T6, and they were very loyal, and they were just really good people. So I actually ran for football captain. I had never done any public speaking before, so I was really nervous, and I went up there, and I forgot the word captain. So in front of the whole town, I was like, I want to be your football. And so it was embarrassing at first. It was not a very good public speaking start, and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to run for office. And I actually had a conversation with my counselor at like 6:30 in the morning, because I think we woke up at 6. And he was telling me, why not just strive for success? You're only going to be here once. You're not going to see these kids again. Just try. And so I did. And I ran for governor, even though I was skeptical. I didn't know what governor was at the time, though. I just thought that Governor Manthos kind of sounded pretty good. I had no clue it was the most sought-after position. However, I gained a lot of popularity while at Boise State. I mean, my nickname, it comes from my last name, Manthos. They called me Man-Toes. It has nothing to do with my toes, but they actually shortened my nickname to Toes, just Toes. And so as I gained popularity, people were super kind, and I'd walk through the campus or I'd go to lunch, and I'd see someone that I've never met in my entire life. They were maybe from like Springfield or Boston. I'd never seen them before. Yo, Toes, how you doing? Or good morning, Toes. And I'd never experienced anything like that before, because I was popular. And it wasn't for being the cool kid or the kid who does daredevil stunts. It was because I was just a friendly person, and when I got there, I shook people's hand, introduced myself, and it was just a great feeling. And so not only did Boise State give me lifelong friendships, and I still keep in touch with my friends from Boise State today, but it provided me with an amazing education on government, democracy, leadership, and most importantly, respect. If I had the chance to do it again, I would in a heartbeat. And I just wanted to thank all of you so much for allowing me to be at Boise State.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. One moment, Jay. One moment.
Have your autograph?
Do you have a
I
question?
was going to ask a question.
Yeah.
What was it? What do you want to do with the rest of your life?
I haven't really figured that one out yet, but
Still have time.
I definitely want to go into some sort of business, because Boise State actually taught me that I can use my voice, even though I didn't really know I could. I used to get like super jittery and butterflies in my stomach when I'd public speak. I mean, I kind of got it now, but I mean,
You're aware that you can go back to Boise State as a counselor.
I did not know that.
We do have 18-year-old counselors.
Yeah, so
So
get together
you
with
could
Bob
contact
and,
them again
yeah.
if you are interested.
Yeah,
It doesn't pay.
that doesn't matter.
But
I won't be doing
you're going to
anything.
see a lot of jobs in life that don't pay or don't pay enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toes.
My input is he'll have a successful career in marketing.
there you go, there you go. Okay,
Good presence,
yes.
great presence.
Yeah, you did really well speaking, so it shows how Boise State really is expanding your horizon. Keep up the good work. Okay, so we will move on to the meeting. Could I have a motion that we resume the meeting?
I got a motion that we resume the official meeting.
All in favor?
My name is Bill Ames. I served in the U.S. Army very proudly, and I've been a member of the American Legion post here for 10, 15 years, thanks to none other than Lee Williams, course. I've been asked to talk about the Grange, which I happen to be the president of these days. And the reason is that Grange is sponsoring a blood drive that the VFW and I think the Legion's helping out. And it will be on July 18th here at the hall. And a bunch of us will be volunteering, and that is Martin Luther King Day.
January 16th.
Is it 16th?
Yeah, January 16th.
Okay, 16th, thank you. I stand. Because it's a lot of people might not be working, and a good day for people to think about giving back something to their community, so on and so forth. So I looked up before I talk about the Grange, I looked up what are the functions of blood, because I didn't really quite know them all myself. I think we all know. Supply oxygen to tissues, supplies nutrients such as glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids, removes waste such as carbon dioxide, urea, and lactic acid, immunological functions, circulating white blood cells, coagulation, messenger functions, including the transport of hormones and signaling tissue damage, regulation of core body temperature, and hydraulic functions, which I don't quite know what that means, but give you an idea how significant blood is. I think we all know that, but it's interesting to see the various functions. So this blood drive is being sponsored, or being organized, I should say, by the Grange. So any of you here know what the Grange is? Some of you do. Larry, I know you're a member. Don Tuck, of course, because of the thrift store. The Grange Hall is up on Route 138, right next to the Union Villa. And it was founded in 1992. I can read here from the history of the Grange. In March 1932, under the direction of Mr. Cushman of Lakeville, 30 people signed the charter, which formed the Easton Grange 196. It was approved by the National and State Granges and became effective April 8, 1892. So it's had a long history, and a lot of our ancestors have been through it. Today, looking here at a history, it continues to press for the causes of farmers. Granges, how much time do I have, by the way?
10, 15 minutes.
10, 15, okay.
Yeah.
So Granges basically started in the Midwest because the farmers there had big farms and small farms, but they couldn't get organized because a farmer is basically a businessman. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't unionize. So the Grange movement started because it gave the families a place to gather, and the husbands, who were typically the ones who were running the farms, would get together and talk about the freight rates with the railroads, and there's all sorts of legal issues and semi-legal issues that farmers faced. And of course, they needed to have a place to get together to gather so they could each contribute what they knew about various state regulations. And the Grange was a very lobbying group at the state legislatures for various farm-related issues. So it was a very significant function in those days, and it grew quite fast. I think total, see, I have it here. Local Granges and membership in the Grange increased dramatically from 1873 to 1875. So in 1875, they had 858,000 members in the Granges in the country. It was nonpartisan, and importantly, women were encouraged to join and did join because families joined. It was very much of a family organization. So while the husbands were up talking about the various farming issues, the wives and the kids would all be downstairs getting dinner ready, and then after the meetings were over for the men, they'd all gather and have a big party, and boy meets girl. You go to these state Grange meetings, I sit at the table. It's an amazing number of those. I said, oh yeah, my grandparents met at the Grange. My parents met at the Grange. And I met my wife at the Grange. So it gives you a nice feeling, the Grange. It's very much a community. I think Larry would agree with that. But it's I can't say we're thriving today because of the thrift store. You all know the Lions thrift store if you live in Easton, and they lease the space from us. And the deal is that for every dollar, the lease terms are for every dollar that the thrift store takes in revenues, we, the Grange, get 40 cents. And they basically have taken over the building. So the 40 cents that we get of every dollar, I'd say half of it goes to fixing up the building, because the building's, old. So we put on a new roof. We've fixed various beams and put in a new handicap bathroom. We borrowed money for that. So that's our part of the deal. The Lions part of the deal is to run the thrift store, which does very well. They recently sold a moose head for $1,200. Someone came in and had this big set of antlers, and
Yeah.
$1,200. I mean, it was pretty.
I was told that they put it out in front of the range, and they had so many people stopping.
Causing accidents almost.
Oh, I didn't hear that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
a lot
it
of
was.
people coming by to look at it.
So I think the people who shot the moose, and there was another set of, I think it was caribou antlers there too. But it's a nice, rather than putting them in the dumpster, it found a nice home for them. So, and a moose is sort of an amiable symbol, don't you think of?
Yes.
So anyhow, we're working hard at the Grange, and I think it's going to be a success. The thrift store now does very well. It's only open on Saturdays for 3 or 4 hours, but they have a lot of regulars come through. And if you're a young family or something and don't have a whole lot of money, the Grange is a perfect place to get furniture, dishes, and all this sort of thing. So we're very proud of the partnership we have with the Lions, and I think it should continue for a long time.
I had a question, Bill, for you about the Grange. You mentioned that it was from farming, and that's how it began. And how is that in Easton, as far as Easton farming, how does the Grange connect with that?
Well, we have run programs in the past about canning things and various one-off things, but there's not any real identification with farmers anymore. I think it's more in terms of sustainability through agriculture, things like that, because there aren't a whole lot of farms in Easton.
Well, I was thinking of the community gardens. There's a number.
Community gardens, yeah.
A number of community gardens here in Easton, and I was just curious if you had any connection
Well,
with the people.
Ed Hands has been very active in that in the past as well. And unfortunately, Langwater Farm, which you all know, I'm sure, up on Route 138, they've been very good. They've come and presented to our programs, and Kevin O'Dwyer has been very helpful to us.
Mm-hmm.
So any other comments or thoughts?
Any questions from anyone about the Grange?
How often do you meet, and what do you normally talk about and plan?
Well, we met last night. We meet the third Monday of every month, and we have a meal beforehand. The dinner starts at 6, so if anybody's interested in the Grange, by all means, give me a call. And then the meeting begins, and it's sort of based on Masonic ritual. There's all sorts of brother this and sister that, and there's during the meeting there's a manual, and you got to do this and salute this and all that sort of thing. So it's nice. It's not for everybody, the ritual, but I think if you appreciate the history and what we're trying to do, it sort of grows on you over time.
Right.
So third Monday, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
There's a free dinner.
So another question I have is, the American Legion or the VFW, you have to serve in the military or be a veteran. So, what are the eligibility criteria in order to join the Grange?
Well, I think there really is an interest in sustainability, an interest in agriculture. I don't think you have to be experienced in any of those, but
Maybe what Elizabeth might be getting at is, do you have to be a resident of the town of Easton, or can you come from other towns?
You can come.
Some of our members come from other towns.
Yeah, no, you can come from other towns. No problem with that.
So basically, as long as you have an interest in that particular area.
Yeah.
This will be a good organization for you to be a part of.
Yeah, and it's a, you know, there's a lot of social aspect to it too. You know, you meet some interesting people, that sort of thing. So that makes it fun. So.
Is the Grange connected with the 4-H?
No, but I mean, they're in the same church, but different pew, so to speak.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's all. Ernie, you had a question?
I have a comment to make that the funds that we receive at the Grange many times is spread right here in the community among students and other needs of community members.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think we did give some scholarships, and we contribute to the food pantry, food bank. What do we call it? I can't remember. And I think we give a nice donation every Christmas time to the veterans. So we're very proud of that.
So I wanted to just point out that we passed out the flyers for the blood drive, which is January 16th, as he said, Martin Luther King Day, 2023, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. here at the VFW. To sign up, there's the address for the computer, www.redcrossblood.org, and you would look it up by the town of Easton, you know, where there's a local blood drive, and you can sign up if you would like to make a blood donation. And of course, they take monetary donations too for the blood drive, which is very helpful for people who have disasters.
Sure, and just as a final word, I know Lee Williams and Don Tuck were the ones that helped get the thrift store going, so we owe a lot to both of them. And
Yes, Gordon has a question over here.
What's the difference between the Harmony Grange and the Eastern Grange? They
Well-
used to have their place on Highland Street.
yeah, they were two. Well, they were two separate Granges.
Was
Yeah.
it the same idea?
Same idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, I think Southeastern way back had a lot of farms, more than Northeastern was sort of an industrial.
Because they were there a long time too.
Yeah.
Right.
No, they're very touching, these histories
Well,
of
I
these.
remember Maybell and the Skinners, some of the old ones that used to
Skinners.
be at the trades out there.
Leslie Skinner, Stephen
Yeah,
Skinner.
And they used to have the vegetable put on. They used to have give a ribbon for the best looking vegetables. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, they did.
They
Stephen,
used to have a lot of shows there.
yeah.
Platform like.
Oh, I bet. No, they had the whole gamut of activities and
Yeah, I know. It was nice.
singing, and I think Mr. Skinner was the state master, the
Yeah, I
state
think they
Grange.
all come on now. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
Way back to the 40s and 50s.
The kids, the children live up in Vermont, but you know they're like our ages at this point, certainly. So, but it's a nice tradition. So,
So are there any other questions for Bill? Well, thank you, Bill, for coming and telling
Well, my
us
pleasure.
about the Grange. We appreciate it.
If
yes.
we want to help with the blood drive, is it on the flyer? How we can help?
Just let me know.
Sign up to help?
Let me
Okay.
know
Yeah.
if you're a member and you want to help out and you want to come help set up or
take a
be
time period.
Yeah, be in attendance. We could probably use 3 people, 3 volunteers. So if you're able, just let me know.
Yeah, it'd be much appreciated. And Lisa Hadley is the one who's really been the driver behind all this, so we owe her a lot of
This is
gratitude.
the 3rd annual, I believe.
Third, yeah, I think it
Third
is.
annual blood drive
And
that we've had here.
she's really the spark plug for it. So, great. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
well, thank you, Bill.
Do I salute the flag again?
No.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Teresa with the American Legion Post 7 here in Easton, and today is another segment of our panel discussion. We have Bob Hicks here, who is our Americanism representative. He served as the commander of our post from 2004 until 2006, and he served in other positions over the years as well. Another program you have is the Boys State and the Girls State. So could you
Yes.
tell us about that?
Boy State is my favorite program of all three. I do recruit and I do fundraise for Girls State, but obviously it is a program run by the women of the American Legion Auxiliary. And they are the wives of veterans and female veterans. Like Teresa, a female veteran can join both organizations, the American Legion and its auxiliary. But they run a very good program, and they do it their way, and we do things our way. So I do fundraise and recruit, but I'm not there. I'm not part of their program. Boy State has been around since about 1935 or so. It was organized to combat the Young Communist League, particularly in Illinois, and the German-American Bund, which was a pro-Nazi organization of the 30s. It started in Massachusetts, and the first Boy State was held June 8th, 1944, 2 days after the D-Day invasion. And that's one reason why I keep remembering the date that it started, simply because it's D-Day +2. It is for 17-year-old males, high school juniors. We want the juniors to come back and be seen in their high schools after their week with us, so that they become walking, talking advertisements for the following year's program for next year's juniors.
So what do they teach? What do they do in the program for the boys?
We teach local and state government. About as far as we go into federal government is the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments. We teach, well, the kids come in, and on a Saturday morning, and this year it will be June 11th through the 17th. So on June 11th they will appear. They will be assigned to 12 different classes. We call them cities and towns. And they will be assigned to 2 political parties, the Federalists and the Nationalists. And those parties start out with no policies, no programs, bare nothing, blank paper. And that is for the boys. They're told, you are going to develop a program. And if you're opposed to COVID, that can be part of your program. Or if you're opposed to the war in Ukraine, that can be part of your party's platform, and so on. Within their 12 communities, they are going to have an election, and they're going to elect their mayor, they're going to elect their school committee, their finance committee, they're going to elect some other kids, some are going to be appointed so that everybody in a class of between 18 to 25 students has a job, something they're responsible for. And by Tuesday, if it starts on Saturday, by Tuesday of the following week, the mayor will be running the town. So there'll be counselors there to supervise and make sure things get done, but the mayor is going to be asking for you to do this or you to do that.
So it teaches the boys government.
It teaches them government by governing. It teaches them politics by being politicians. There's going to be some elections. One election is going to be for a legislature, a state senate and a state house of representatives. They will be expected to introduce legislation and to vote and approve it. The same way we're going to have statewide officers, the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, the attorney general, state auditor, and so on. Duplicates of the positions in Massachusetts state government. There will be campaigns, there will be young people who are perhaps hesitant about speaking are going to find themselves asking voters for their votes and why.
So some of the boys serve as elected officials while others are the body.
Yes, well, others are appointed. Everybody's going to have a job, even if the title is dog catcher. It is fun to watch this. It is a pleasure and a privilege to watch these kids develop over just 1 week. We have a band, and we encourage people to bring instruments. So 1 year we had a violinist in the middle of what was essentially a brass band, but he thrived. We have a chorus, and that is one of our few mixed gender groups. Well, a band is mixed gender too. The boys have their own dorms, the girls at Girls State have their dorms. The girls have a time when they dine, the boys have a separate time, which effectively is feeding time, not dining. They do have some classes together, as, for example, a class in international relations. We have classes that are mandatory. 3 of them, one is law, one is government, and the third is economics. And then we have mini courses. Those are run for about 5 days. Then we have mini courses extending over 4 days, which might be on military service, or it might be on some aspect of government, or it might be on, well, international relations was one. These are run by what is essentially graduate students in the field. Our counselors are, we have 18-year-old counselors. They were at Boys State last year. All our counselors now are volunteers, unpaid. All of the Legionnaires who arrived, most of them are retired, but all of them are unpaid. So what we raise for money mainly goes to Stonehill College to house and pay for our students and feed.
Okay, so Bob, they have time for exercise?
Oh yes, we have organized athletics, we have teams. We take 2 of these classes and combine them and call them, because they're cities or towns, we call them a county. And we pick out several different teams from that, such as touch football, basketball. As teams don't progress in the league, people may bring up tennis rackets or things like that, but our emphasis is on team sports, team building, cooperation, because those are all elements of leadership, and that's what we want. We want leaders, and we want to develop them to be better leaders, and better leaders in the community and better leaders in college.
Very good. So is there anything else you wanted to add about Boys State?
Yeah, aside from the fact that it's fun, and that's one of the first things people remember, but it's also, COVID will probably reduce our numbers a little bit, but we've had anywhere from 150 to 300 boys and a similar number of girls, depending upon COVID, over the last 5 years or so. So it is a great opportunity to network. We have had boys, daters who went on in life in college, and one day one called another and said, "Will you be the best man in my wedding?"
Nice.
We had another who graduated from college after 5 years after Boys State, a year of high school, 4 years of college, and he went out for a job interview. And the interviewer kept asking him, what's this Boys State? Tell me about Boys State. He wasn't talking about his college program. What's this Boys State? And turns out the man who was interviewing had attended Boys State in Ohio, and he got the job. It is a fun thing, but it's a lot of networking. People have been in touch for years. Our counseling staff is almost all Boys Staters. The last year of maybe 48 Boys Staters, we had one who was an Air Force recruiter who didn't know recruiting whatsoever, but he got us extra t-shirts for athletics, even black shirts or brown shirts or green shirts for the sports teams. Normally Boys Staters wear a white shirt and the counselors wear a blue shirt. This is a counselor's blue shirt that I'm wearing because I'm on the staff and I'm sort of there and I'm sort of doing stuff or as little as possible.
Well, you do a lot more. You help recruit, and the Post provides funds.
Yeah, the Post provides funds. We pay for several Boys Staters and Girl Staters.
Right.
We've done that for at least 10 years. Over the years, I'm proud to have recruited 404 boys. I lost track of the number of girls I recruited because my computer burped. But I'm looking forward to recruiting 21 boys and 11 girls this year.
And you've done this for many, many years. What is it now, 26?
Yeah.
Wow, it's a long time.
And one thing I'm proud of, I got a phone call. I was talking with a high school to recruit one student. And I was told that the student who went to Boys State from their school in 2021 had just been appointed to West Point. And I like to hear that. I like to hear when they go to a prominent school, whether it's military or not, but whether if it's Harvard or William and Mary, BU, Northeastern, my school, I take a little pride in having had just a tiny bit to do with their academic career.
Great. So Girls State is very similar.
Girls State is very similar. It's generally a little smaller. In the last few years, it has been a little larger. And they have produced some wonderful young women to colleges and then to life in America. They have classes of their own. Some classes now are being shared, male and female, but they do an excellent job. I can't stop praising them for the work they do with the young women.
Yeah, one time I went and, I went to the classes, the 3 classes, law, government, economics, but they also invited me to go to their, I believe they called it the talent show for the girls.
They're doing
that was
less
wonderful.
of that. They were doing less of that now. The young girls coming in were beginning to rebel that they had this talent show to do. But they were thinking it was they were not part of the Miss America program, and that they were more interested in academia and in networking and in the general learning that Boys State and Girls State offer. It is a very worthwhile program. I would recommend donations. I would recommend finding a way for your children or grandchildren to become part of these programs. Colleges look for our kids, and sometimes they look with scholarship money when they look. I have felt that I'm very fortunate and privileged to be part of American Legion Boys State and this whole program, and it has been an absolute pleasure to sit there and watch young people confront new challenges and grow. I feel very fortunate to be a participant.
So we have applications. I have some, and you have some?
And we have applications, and we have some money. And if someone has questions, they can reach me through Post 7 and Teresa, or if they know me, they can call me. We, as a Post, cover 5 different high schools, so it isn't just Easton, but Easton sends boys and girls each year, and just give us a call, contact us.
And also, people can sponsor a child, a student?
Oh, yes. If you have $350, which is a full scholarship, you can name the high school you want to attend, and we will make a best effort to see that the high school does cooperate. We can't guarantee it, but we will make our best effort to get a child from that school. You cannot name the student. Because frankly, some students are not the kind of kids that we are looking for. We want leaders. We want people who are student scholar athletes. Although we have had, I don't know about the girls, but on the boys' side, we have had people who are blind, totally vision impaired. We have had people who are paraplegics, quadriplegics, wheelchairs. We can accommodate any challenge, any handicap that someone has that Stonehill College can accommodate, because that's where we hold our program. And frankly, we prefer having some people facing challenges so our non-challenged people can see them and learn to live with them. That is another thing we can teach, assuming that we have some people who do face challenges.
That's a very good point that you make. So the program is available to high school juniors. If you have any questions, we'll have a slide at the end of this with the Post information, my phone number, an email address, and I can also put Bob's contact information on that, so that if you would like to enroll or seek a scholarship, you'll be able to do so.
And if you do, Boys State and Girls State are offered at the same time, June 11th through the 17th, at Stonehill College in Easton. So if you live in Stonehill, it's a very short commute to get there.